The hardest part about being creative is getting started. Maybe you're worried that it won't be good enough or you're overwhelmed by all of the possibilities. Well, you're not alone. Welcome back, I'm Christine, and I know that Create This Book 3 can be intimidating. That's why I went through the entire thing and found the 5 easiest prompts for beginners. These prompts are easy and fun, but they're still challenging enough to help you build confidence. They can also help you overcome the fear of getting started. So grab your Create This Book 3 and open up to page 68. Create swirls. Put your pen or pencil on the page and move it in a swirly motion for 20 seconds. Swirl your hand all over the page. Go crazy. It's okay if you make mistakes. My swirls aren't perfect and yours don't have to be either. It's hard to make a perfect swirl, but I want you to fight the urge to start over and keep going. This is exactly why I chose this prompt for beginners. Embracing a little bit of that messiness can make your art feel more alive and authentic. I went over my swirls with a ballpoint pen and it looks a little sloppy, but that's okay. Keep creating swirls until the page is full. These swirls are just one element of this piece and we'll add more to them later. The point is to embrace any imperfections you see right now and accept them as part of the creative process. When you've completed your swirls, you can move on to the next prompt. But if you're feeling courageous, I challenge you to make your swirls a little more interesting. When I look at this page, I see sea waves. I decided to add a yellow duck because the idea of a tiny yellow duck floating around on swirly sea waves makes me smile. Before I chose the duck, I also considered a beach ball, a fish, and a whale. Have fun with this part. It doesn't have to make sense as long as it makes you smile. As a beginner, it's important to include something that makes you smile in each prompt. This will help you feel good about your art and imperfections, which will motivate you to make more. So color outside those lines, make mistakes, and be sloppy. This is how mine turned out, and this is how it looks inside of the book. Let's move on to page 73. Create triangles and make an animal using triangles. For me, it seemed like the perfect time to draw a dragon. Dragons are a little scary to draw because they have a lot of details and they can feel very overwhelming. But this prompt actually takes all of that pressure away and can make drawing one fun. When you pick an animal to create, start with a triangle for the head and add on from there. Use larger triangles for the body and smaller ones for legs and tails. I chose this prompt for beginners because everyone can draw a triangle. Now, my dragon looks silly, but this dragon comes from a universe where everything is made out of triangles. The triangle universe is a silly place, and if your triangle animal looks a little silly and quirky, it'll fit right in. Use your imagination to create something that resembles the animal. The triangle universe isn't perfect, and your animal shouldn't be either. All you have to do is create a black and white animal shape. I outlined mine with a Sharpie and I created some thicker, bolder lines to add more dimension. Looking back at this, I love everything about this black and white version, but I kept going and added more color with my jelly gouache. I wanted to make a purple dragon because purple is my favorite color, but the colors looked a little washed out. I also struggled to keep the paint inside the lines. Then I had the best idea. I decided to work backwards. I put the gouache down first and I used my pen to add triangles around it. Now the areas where the paint went outside of the lines looks intentional. This is just another way to embrace imperfections in your art. Here's how my dragon looks inside of the book. Turn to page 154, create a jumble. I want you to start this prompt by going through old sketchbooks. Find pieces of art with the same color scheme or incorporate sketches that excite you when you see them. I couldn't find any in the first pile, so I kept looking. This Canson watercolor sketchbook is the first sketchbook I ever painted in. I'm sure I'll find something in here. Oh, look at these mermaids. I'll have to do something with these in another video. I kind of like this too. This black sketchbook is over 5 years old and it's filled with incomplete art that I can use for this prompt. I'll be using this sea lion and a few others. I didn't want to destroy my old art, so after I found what I liked, I took a picture with it on my phone and printed it out on photocopy paper, and then I cut it out. This prompt is on the list for beginners because I know everyone has a sketchbook full of unfinished art. This is your opportunity to give new meaning to something that might have been discarded or forgotten about. It's an easy way to experiment with composition techniques and styles without dedicating too much time to it. It took me a few minutes to figure out where I wanted everything to go, including this cute little piggy, but once I had everything in place, I started to color on top of my collage with my Sharpie creative markers. It was a bit tricky getting everything to blend together, but I kind of like it. It might not be my favorite piece, but turning old art into something new was easy and it made me feel more confident. You can feel that way too. I hope you don't mind, but I was feeling a little lazy today, so I'm just rocking my natural waves. It's really frizzy. If you're loving this Create This Book 3 video, go ahead and give it a like, and I'll create a part 2. I originally picked out 10 prompts for this video, but it would have made the video over 20 minutes long, and that is just too long for me. Now, if you're still with me, the last 2 prompts are going to get your creative juices flowing and your imagination going. Oh, that rhymes. Moving on to page 84, create a starburst. Draw lines stemming from the dot on this page. Start by drawing lines from the center points. I transferred my dot to another sheet of paper because it's time to whip out the acrylic paint. After you finish drawing your lines, I encourage you to add color using any art supplies you like. This prompt is so simple that it's a great opportunity for beginners to experiment with any art supplies you have sitting around. This is your time to play with those supplies and have fun in the process. As you paint your starburst, try to incorporate dark and light values to add more dimension. This can be all you create for this prompt, but if you like, you can keep going. As you're coloring in your lines, do they remind you of anything? Maybe the lines can become a sun, flowers, or an explosion. After staring at mine for a bit, I saw a blue dress and decided to paint a woman dancing in the night sky. Once I figured out the shape, I brought out more details in the dress using lighter tints of blue. This painting reminds me of a story my mom used to tell me when I was little. I was really scared of thunderstorms, but to calm me down, she said the thunder was angels having a party. The thunder was them dancing and the lightning was them taking pictures. Until I grew up and realized that wasn't true, I always thought it was rude for them to have a party in the middle of the night when I was trying to sleep. But my mom was smart because instead of being afraid of thunderstorms, I just got annoyed. It's funny how getting creative and making a painting like this can make you think of stories from your childhood. Unfortunately, I'm still afraid of thunderstorms, but since I live in Florida, they only last about 20 minutes, so they're not that bad. Let's finish this up. I used my paintbrush to create some splatters for stars, but I also painted a few by hand. Remember when I said to use some art supplies that you don't normally use? For the first time ever, I was able to make use of my gold acrylic paint. I think it adds so much dimension to the final piece, and I love this. Moving on, turn to page 149. Create cracks. Draw jagged lines all over this page. It's time to break the rules. Instead of drawing jagged lines all over the page, I want you to draw jagged lines around the edges of the page. As you do this, make sure you keep the center open. Once you're done, ink the lines with a Sharpie or your favorite pen. This is where it gets interesting and a little creative. As you do this, brainstorm ideas of what could be on the other side of a cracked wall. A couple that come to mind are an underwater scene, a hidden library, or a portal to another dimension. Don't forget, it doesn't have to make sense. It can just be fun. Personally, I chose a galaxy for mine because I think they're fun to create. I'm always trying to improve how I paint galaxies, so this was a perfect opportunity for me to experiment and practice as well. To make this look three-dimensional, I painted one side of the galaxy a dark blue and the other side a light blue. I also alternated between light gray and a medium gray for the cracks. While I painted the cracks, I made sure to leave brushstrokes to give everything a rough texture. All of my shadows are on the left and my highlights are on the right. I also experimented with different ways to add texture and detail with my finger. I decided to use my Posca pens to paint in the planets and blend everything with a paintbrush. Since my intention is to have fun, I'm not afraid to mix different supplies to create something new. This prompt is on my list for beginners because it's the perfect opportunity to get creative and use your imagination. You might even want to create one or two other versions of this in your sketchbook just for fun. I know I will. I get it, no matter how easy I make it, you still might have trouble getting started, which is why I created this video with Cassie from the Cassie Projects. It's about how to get started on your very first prompts with a friend. So go ahead and check it out, and I'll see you there.